Okay, we gonna now well, first of all, I'm gonna say good morning. We hope everyone has enjoyed and had a learning experience during the conference. I want to say thank you for attending, and we wish that you come back next year. Now, I only ask one thing, that you bring somebody with you. That you bring someone with you. Okay? Now, as everybody have the agenda, and we have water quality is in our hands, making a documentary with Dr. Nancy Dawson and Dr. Christopher Rapley, Albany State University. So at this time, so that we'll stay on track and they'll have time to do their presentation, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Dawson and Dr. Rapley. And also working with them too, and I'm sorry, is Mrs. Gay Broadwater. They all are not, Dr. Dawson and Ms. Broadwater are no strangers to Kentucky State University. And we're so delighted to have them today. So at this time, Ms. Broadwater.
Good morning, everyone. I want to say how nice it is to see some old familiar faces and also to see a lot of new faces as well. I know this conference is one of the highlights of the year for this program, and we're honored to be a part of this. Dr. Dawson wrote a grant over 2 years ago to the National Association of State Administrators of Agriculture, Secretaries of Agriculture Foundation. They actually have an arm called a foundation where they award grants, a nonprofit. That grant fund came through EPA, and you understand the past year has been kind of up and down. We've been concerned that they would be allowed to complete the grant, but they have been, and so that pleases us very much. Last year at this conference, we met with several of you to learn about water on your property, your farm property. And since then, the project has evolved into actually documenting some of those efforts. So in a little while, you're going to hear a brief interview that has been recorded that'll be packaged into a longer documentary film. But what we wanted to also do today was share some of the things we've learned through the efforts of this project, which has been primarily focused in Western Kentucky, but not completely. Okay? So I would like to hear just briefly from all of you in the room. How many of you have a pond on your farm? Okay. How many of you have a stream running through your farm? And how many of you have well water that you drink? So you know that water is critical to your everyday life, your health, your well-being, and those ponds and those streams especially can give you fits when we get rain like we've been having here in Kentucky in large amounts. It doesn't seem to understand it's supposed to come in, regular smaller amounts, but we can't control that. But the other piece to that is our well water. We want to make sure it stays fresh and clean and not contaminated. And even in our small communities, water can be affected, and we're learning the infrastructure to our small towns and areas are also being affected by the quality of the water itself. So we put together this resource guide that's being passed around. It is just one way that this project has produced something that we hope is useful to you. It shows you where federal assistance can be tapped. It shows you where there's different places in the state, and also with some of the articles that have been written about, particularly with black farmers. And for some reason, I have forgotten to say the most important thing, and that is Cherokee. Is the Cherokee Historical Park Friends Group wrote that grant, and I'm amiss in not saying that beforehand. But what we wanted to do, again, is put this in your hands for you to have, but we also, later in our time that we have with you and individually throughout the rest of the day, is hear from you and talk to you and learn about how you're managing your water resource on your property. So with that said, do we have the video ready to go? Okay, so we're going to show a brief video to give you an idea of how this film is being put together, and then we'll come back and hear some stories from you as a full group, if that's okay with everybody. Okay. So I guess we can roll the film.
I'm Marion Simon. When I worked at KSU, my goal was to help farmers to be better farmers, improve their income, and improve their family living and their quality of life. To do that, we set up meetings in many counties. We developed the Third Thursday educational program where farmers could come and county agents every month for updates into new activities. We started this conference so that farmers in West Kentucky could meet farmers from East Kentucky, and several of the farmers, particularly the African American farmers, did not know that African American farmers were beyond Louisville. However, most of our farmers are west of Louisville. So we tried to put the people together that needed to know each other.
My name is Lee Graves. I'm the proud owner of Graves Farm in Adair County, Kentucky. I've been a farmer now for about 15 years. I raise beef cattle, okay? That's the only thing that I raise. I raise a little bit of hay, and I cut a little bit of hay. I buy mainly my hay from other people.
So how important is water to your farm?
It's very important. One, I don't have a stream on my farm. I have a lot of ponds, but they're dry. And what they did, right, when they came out and put my water fountains in, what they did, they fenced the water ponds off, okay? So the animals would not get in the pond and contaminate the water, okay? So they put a fence around it.
My name is Lonzo Ballou, and I'm with Ballou Farms in Richmond, Kentucky.
And how long have you been farming?
I am actually third generation. My grandfather bought the first farm back in the early 30s.
And so how many waterways are on your farm?
We've got 2 waterways that lead to the Kentucky River on our farm, backside of both tracks.
So historically, how have you kept the waterways clean? What have you done?
We have to continuously monitor these streams because trees will fall and other debris will wash down into these streams. So we have to continuously monitor and clean those streams physically by hand. And a lot of it's done that way because access with equipment is really hard to get to some of those areas in those streams.
To give you a little big background on where our farm is located at, we are located in the Todd County area, which is in the mid-southern, right on the Tennessee line. But the little area that town is close to is called Guthrie, Kentucky. Well, Todd County is got 2 type of terrain. And one area we live in is in what we call a limestone area. So yes, we depends on the water. And most of the time we was on well water when we had for the family farm. But we also got these things considered sinkholes that's located in karst areas.
So what is a sinkhole?
A sinkhole is a depressing area that actually feeds the underground water rivers, I call them, are tributaries. And they'll fall in what they call the karst areas that's there. And we have some of them that we have established that are located on our farm. And so we're really concerned about subsurface water entering into our groundwater safely. So back in the old days, they used to say, oh, let's take a sinkhole, let's throw all our garbage, our dumps, and the whole works. After getting more educated about the situation and how it could pollute our groundwater, that's something we stopped.
Is farming difficult?
It is. It's a very difficult task. Not only just labor-wise, but sometimes the headache of the cost that's going into it, on the return of what you're getting out of it. A lot of people don't see the money side of farming.
Well, if you look at worldwide, and then you have to ask yourself, how many black farmers is still farming? It's just like, this is what happens to most of the black farmers. If we had got the resources that they got, a lot of the black farmers would still be farming.
So I was just talking to Mr. Miller, and he was talking about that the resources for black farmers and white farmers is different. Is that true?
That is true.
So how is it true? Tell me.
A lot of what happens is when we go for materials, supplies, fertilizers, things like that, when we ask for those materials, we may get them, but when we get them, they're not what our counterparts would receive. So when we do our applications, they don't come in the same way as our counterparts do. When you say, I want 3.5 tons of lime to the acre, I pay for 3.5 tons of lime to the acre. My yield or my pH test should come back balanced. When it doesn't, which means I didn't get the same resources as my counterpart did.
I remember you years ago when you was just a teenager. And so now you have a job with what? The NOCS?
I work for the United States Department of Agriculture, Natural Resource Conservation Service.
So what do you do with them?
I am a soil conservation technician. I do a lot of the surveying. I'm usually the first person you see when we meet farmers. I do our farm visits, get out with the farmers and see what kind of resource concerns that they have, and we get our heads together and try to come to a compromise on how we can fix those things.
Well, see, we don't farm anymore, so, and my husband passed away, and so he was mostly the, of the farm. So a lot of the stuff I don't really know.
So resources. People been talking a lot about resources today. So are there differences in the resources that black farmers have versus the resources that white farmers have?
Damn right, they do.
So can you talk about that?
They do. If you don't have the resources, you cannot run a farm, period. You can't run one. There's no way that you can run one and make a living on it, okay? When you can go to the bank, and the bank, right, you have to have some type of collateral every time you go to the bank to get resources. You're not gonna last very long, okay? Because they know how much money, okay, that they can actually give you, okay, or loan you that you can pay back. Now, you know that you can pay it back, but getting the money.
So Dr. Simon, we was discussing water and quality in black farmers. And in fact, we was interviewing people earlier, and whenever I said water quality, they start talking about inequality. So you said fencing. You can usually tell the difference between a black farm and a white farm based on their fencing. What does that mean?
It means that when you look at your farm, some people spend what they have to make a living, and some people try to stretch it and have more loans. But when you look at a black farm, you'll tend to see less weed eating around the fences, less care of the fences than the white farmer, who really is more interested in, oh, don't you think my farm looks beautiful, rather than this farm is my income. And I don't have to make it pretty. I can just make it suffice for what I need. That's also the case of many of the tenant farmers. They just don't have the money to make it fun, to make it pretty. So they let it go, as you know, they don't weed eat around it, and they don't do all this other stuff, which takes time and money, but especially time, just to make it look pretty.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go in the next 10 or 20 years? How do black farmers get out of this?
I think first they need to look at their farm's assets and the assets of their community. For example, do they have to use city water or purchase water, or is there water for their crops available either in a farm pond or on the creek next to them? Need to say, how much money can I spend on water? And then you think about the water quality. But really, a lot of times it's just water in general that you need for your crop. Livestock, they might need a little cleaner water. But the main thing is, water is extremely important, because if they don't have anything to drink, you're not going to have any animals, you're not going to have any plants. And if everything depends on city water or purchased water, the smaller farmers can't afford it. We went to work with an African-American farmer, and he was having just a terrible production year. And when we looked, they had never fertilized any crops, never run any soil test, nothing. So the tobacco was about this tall. We recommended that he hire somebody, and it cost him $500 to hire somebody to come and irrigate his tobacco. That amount of irrigation for 4 days brought that tobacco back to where it was over 6 feet tall, and their income for the tobacco, they had so much tobacco, they filled up their barns, their neighbors' barns, and their temporary structures. But they did not know that you needed to fertilize it and water it.
Am I on now? Okay. Thank you. Mr. Rapley put that together in the last 24 hours. Give him a hand. We still have more testimonies we want to collect, but we want to hear from you right now. We have a microphone we can pass around, and I would like to hear from some people who have experienced flooding on their property from their streams or ponds, how they've managed it. So we have a couple people back there, Jane and, I'm sorry, I don't know the other person. How long do we have?
Okay, we have a Bacon Creek in Bonneville, Kentucky floods on our hay fields, but how we manage that is we're going to stop doing hay on those fields. It's easier to buy hay at this point than us do it ourselves. And I'm going to do pasture rotation on off seasons when it doesn't flood, but it's literally stick a post in the ground, put electric fence up, put the cattle on there for a little bit, and then rotate them to the next field. I think that's going to be my answer for my flooding and the bottom field. In the summertime, I do take a small section, and I did not do it this year, but I have been very, very successful in growing pumpkins because it's very sandy soil, and the pumpkins love it. I don't know if that helps or answers, but that's kind of...
We want to hear how you're experiencing this and how you're dealing with it. So, and did you get any advice from any of the agencies, or did you come up with this from talking to other farmers, or how did you decide on your strategy?
I don't like TV. I love YouTube, and I watch a lot of YouTube on farming. My husband says no more dirt TV. I'm obsessed. I want to learn, so that's why I love YouTube and I love homesteading mentality. And I did not learn from, there was a gentleman, I can't remember his name. He gave me some great suggestions. He's retired from extension office, and I talked to him about planting trees on the creek because I don't like erosion. I'm very funny about erosion. And so he gave me some great suggestions, but most of it's just common sense in my world. I think it's common sense.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Who else wants to tell a story real quick? We'll get you next, sir.
I live on a creek, and when I bought the farm 40 years ago, they said it had only flooded once in the whole time he'd lived there for 80, 75 years. And it flooded 3 times this spring. It went 80 feet wide. My creek, I can walk under. I can walk under the bridge over the creek. It went over the bridge, left a ton of debris and logs, and went 85 feet wide and took out half of my driveway and brought everybody else's driveway down to underneath my bridge and clogged it up. And my solution is just, there's nothing. I tried planting bamboo 35 years ago, and that's the worst mistake I ever made because it does hold the stuff back, and now it's spread enormously. I think that my neighbors they put in a subdivision above my house, cleared about 300 acres of woods, and now I flood all the time, and there's nothing I can do about it. A guy on our farmer's market got a new hoop house and did raised beds for his 3,000 tomato plants, and we got so much rain in a short period of time, he had to bring in pumps because Maria's standing on the raised beds, and the water's halfway up her boots, trying to pump out. He lost about 1,000 tomato plants because of the flood. And he says, well, my only solution is plant in a different place.
Are you planning? Am I turned off? Can you hear me? Okay. Somebody in your county planning and zoning didn't take into consideration what the subdivision was going to do to your property. Is that accurate? Okay.
When they zone it for a subdivision.
Well, it's something to consider. It's not just you on your property. It's systems adjacent. So, Joni, there was a gentleman over here.
Raise your hand again.
He's over there.
Oh, okay, sorry. Hold it out.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, I'm Ronald Bunton. We farm down in Simpson County, down on the Warren-Logan-Simpson County line, and we have problems with sinkholes and to keep the cattle and things away from us. So we went in and put in new fences because we're the only blacks that's farming in our area. So we didn't want to look like we were stuck out like sore thumbs. So we went in putting up plank fences, new woven wire fences and things like that. And to keep the cattle out of the sinkholes, we put rock into the sinkholes, not crushed stone rock from the rock quarry. And that keeps the cows out and helps the water because we do have flooding in our area at times. And in order to not fence off every sinkhole, we just put rock in there and it lets the cattle walk over top of it, and that helps a whole lot.
How did you determine that was going to be your strategy?
All through NRCS.
Okay.
They came out and assessed things for us, and just like they kind of told us what we need to do, how to do it, and we had a program, and they went through a water plan situation with us also. Okay. And then they come out so often and check the sinkholes and make sure that we did have enough rock in it so the water would filter through it to help keep it purified and clean. Because in our area, we don't have a lot of ponds, and so they were receiving a lot of groundwater. And so in order to keep it halfway clean and not being contaminated real bad, we put rock in the sinkholes.
Thank you. Thank you. Joni, there's one up here.
If it echoes, you're too close to that mic.
Okay. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tony Brooks. My wife and I, Emlyn, are at Turner Brooks Farm. Turner Brooks with an S. You may want to. I'm sorry? Well, thank you. Thank you very much, and thank all of you. But speaking of small, you said small farmer of the year, right? There are two corrections. I told you never give the microphone to an English teacher. I told you all that last night. So you may want to take out a pen or pencil and correct your program. It's not Turner Brook Farm, it's Turner Brooks Farm, because we are the Brookses. And so you would have to add an S. And you said farmer of the year. So once again, you're going to have to make the correction and add an ES, and it's farmers of the year, because for too many years, women have been overlooked. And so we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. And as an English teacher, and I'm going to be brief, I'm sorry, and I'm going to get to the water problem. But first of all, I want to address the discrimination problem. The discrimination problem is systemic and it's historical, because when we first came here, my wife said, you have a farm in Kentucky, why aren't you farming? I've never farmed before. So we came here to get into the hemp program, to plow up an acre to plant hemp. Problem is, no tractor, okay? Not only did we not have a tractor, even when we got it, I didn't know how to drive it, because I'd never done it before. So before we got the tractor, I knocked on my neighbor's door and said, you know, sir, I know you've got a tractor. Would you mind plowing an acre for us? And he looked at me like I was crazy. And even crazier than that, when I brought my two young sons here for the first time, and he showed them how to use a tractor, his wife turned to me and said, I guess you can get more for them now. I guess you can get more for them now. Well, the Nolans on Nolan Road happen to be the same Nolans when we celebrate our family reunion. Brooks, Ballou, Nolan, Simpson are the same Nolans that Captain Nolan had owned my family members. So it's historical racism, from slavery to Jim Crow to civil rights, and unfortunately, you know, when Kentucky State started, because we couldn't go to UK. When my father didn't play basketball for UK because Brown versus Board of Education in '54, he graduated in '51. He couldn't go to UK by law. So sometimes when you look at going to FSA or NRCS, we went to NRCS, and this is not a value judgment on anybody, and I want to continue the English lesson by adding an S, adding ES, which makes it plural. We live in a pluralistic society. Let's get over this white and black thing. The world is bigger than that, which I learned when I left Kentucky State and somebody said, would you like to teach in Miami? And when I went to Miami, I saw a guy with dark skin who I thought was black. So I said, yo, man, what's up? He didn't say anything. I thought it was volume. Yo, man, what's up? He didn't say anything. Coming from a pluralistic environment that's not practicing pluralism in Kentucky in my education, I had no idea that this guy did not speak English. That was the situation, which was a problem for me, but not for him, because he's ready for a global society, which we need to get our children ready for. But when I go into NRCS and the secretary has a husband who has the company that when I get the cost share, he's going to put in the, hook me up to city water, to my water feeders. We had, we came on the farm and we've got this big leak. Long story short, the pipes bursted, water main. We've got water everywhere on this new water feeder system for the cattle. Major problem. You're talking about money for investing in such a system. And then, have you ever had water running on your farm for 24 hours and you didn't know it? When we don't live on the farm. And then somebody to come and repair it and say, this looks like old PVC. All of this is a drastic learning experience, but it's also connected to systemic racism, which goes back historically. I hate to see politicians and people use us put us against each other to divide and conquer, to enrich themselves. As I said last night, when I finally started to do my genealogy, and I found out that maybe, you probably kin to some of the white Nolans. But then, even further than that, the Nolans aren't white, they're European. The other people are not black, they're African, of African descent. And being born, me and my sisters being born at Berea College Hospital, when it was Berea College Hospital, and my grandfather being John Fee Moran, named after the founder of Berea College, and them living beside Berea College, and because of the day law, none of them being able to attend Berea College. Even the founder of Berea College told my great-grandfather, "You just had a son, I'd be honored if you named him after me." And he did. But the founder of Berea College, none of my great-grandfather's grandchildren were able to attend Berea College because somebody, Senator Carl Day, was at the train station and saw a white woman and a black woman together hugging each other because they were friends, and he said, that cannot happen. So they went to court and resegregated Berea College. I say all that to say that when I walk into that office, that NRCS office or that FSA office, or I speak to any of you, I can look in your face before you even answer the question about resources, whether or not I'm going to get any resources from you. Because we are not accessing the resources that we have for each other. We are standing in our own way. Because if African Americans in the state of Kentucky are 15% of the population, if you've got change for $1, well, give them the 15%, and you keep the what? Huh? If it's $1 and you take 15 cents out of it, what do you have left? Give them the 15%, and you still are the majority. You still have most of the resources. Why would you even fight? Just like, and I'm going to stop here. But the reason I always talk to you about what I'm going to do for kids is because how can African American young men in Lexington be about 15 or 14% of the population, and they're killing each other, shooting each other? Because we are not accessing the resources that we have to put them someplace other than a lack of hope and full of despair. There is no reason on earth that anybody in the richest country in America should be homeless and not have and be food insufficient. Before we leave this, well, the conference is over, but this is third Thursday, but it's an extension of the conference. Before we leave here today, I demand that we in this room stop this problem and come up with some solutions.
Can you turn, am I on now? Okay. So what I want to do is get some feedback from you about the film. What else should be in that film that's not there now? Because we're still gathering interviews. Who and what would you like to see included in the film? So they can go some direction. Yes, sir.
Jody, this is the person that you were talking about that helped you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to say something to the group of folks here this morning. I retired from NRCS. I worked for them for about 45 years. I was an engineer for them. I have a few comments and a little bit of advice to you folks when you go into our offices. And this is just my suggestion. When you go into our office, go in there, of course, very smooth, quiet, polite. Take your notepad with you. You write down the time, the date you go in that office, and who you talk to. Make sure you keep that record. It's very important. And don't be intimidated because you don't know. You go in there because you don't know. You have already paid for our services when you pay your taxes, and you can get the help there that you need if you are very diligent and persistent and just keep going and asking questions, because they have qualified people there to help you on various levels, on the local level, on the state level, and on the national level. So it's there for you. And I would say that if you go in there and be very persistent and just very determined, quiet and polite, you will get what you need, and more than you need, because they know a lot. They know a lot. And I worked in about 89 of the 120 counties as their engineer for about 45 years. So anything I can add or help to shed light on this, I shall, because we did lots of work with water, air, and soil. And you can always tell our work if you see a pond with fence around it and a tank below it. That's probably one of the ponds that we had some input on. And if you see dams built in the state of Kentucky with lakes behind them of medium size, we probably did that. We were the second biggest dam builders in the U.S. The Corps was the first. We're the second. And channel building. We did lots of channel work in the U.S. There was lots of flooding, and we worked on that, especially in Todd, Christian, and Ohio counties. And a lot of the guys I work with, I see some of them at this conference. Mike Andrews, he was here. I worked with him and several others. We had a lot of fun together. Of course, there's discrimination. There's always going to be discrimination. But figure out ways to get what you want and go around that. Don't let it stop you. People are human. They like to work with people that look like them. You can't help it because you happen to be born black, Chinese, or Caucasian. So get what you need, be polite, persistent, and you will get the help that you need. And we did a lot of work on fencing off the streams to keep the cattle out of them, a lot of pipeline and tanks, and lots of spring developments. I worked in Christian County with a lot of very nice folks, and we did a lot of ponds and a lot of springs. And that's one of my favorite things, to develop a spring. And I have seen cattle, if you have spring water there and city water there, they will go to the spring water every time. It's better water. So anything I can say to shed light on some of these items, I'll be glad to do so. Thanks for hearing me rattle on.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more hand over here, and then I'm going to ask Mr. Rapley to come up and share briefly his experience about filming some of you based on the fact that he's not worked in this field and what insights he got, and then I'll have Dr. Dawson close it out. Is that okay?
I just want to add to what he said. With the NRCS, I ended up getting a high tunnel in 2016, but I was told about it in 2012, and I showed up every single spring, and they knew me, but I was polite and nice. But I didn't get approved till 2016. But it took going in. She knew I was serious. I wasn't going to let it slide, and I got it. So be tenacious, and I've always been known to be tenacious.
Thank you. Mr. Rapley, you want to come up? I'll get the mic.
Good morning. First of all, I want to say it's indeed an honor to even be here. Yesterday, I met a lot of great people. And being a filmmaker and hearing some of the stories, it truly touched me, especially the one with Miss Massey, which you're going to hear a whole lot more and see much more of, because of how, just like her, I lost my wife, and she lost her husband. So, you know, that was a bond in itself. You know, we started off when I got hired to do this film. It started off about water quality, but then somehow it just morphed into inequality. But, you know, I'm one to believe that if we work together, we can all be better. So when Dr. Simon, you know, spoke and twice and was, you know, actually talking about some of the things that she saw with over her 40 years as far as how, you know, African Americans have had to deal with certain situations, that also gave me hope, because she could honestly just turn her head, walked away, and don't care. But she do. So thank you, Dr. Simon. And I just want to say, Dr. Nancy Dawson met me several years ago when my only camera was an iPhone in Albany, Georgia. You're looking at a guy that, when she met me, I had a part-time business, working full-time at DHL. And one day she called me. I never forget. Dr. Dawson called me. It was probably a year later. And she called me a couple of times. I didn't even answer the phone. And I'm going to tell you why. And this is what she said to me. You didn't answer the phone. You must have thought I was a bill collector. And I did thought she was a bill collector. So, but I really want to thank her for believing in me and like I said, I started from driving truck, start my own business. She's one of my mentors. I decided to go to film school. Then I went to journalism school, got my master's, did all that in less than 3.5 years, and now I'm teaching at Albany State. So it's wonderful. And for everyone who say Dr. Rapley, I'm not a doctor yet. I'm working on it. So I'm one of those to say that, you know, when you believe, you can achieve. And I just want to make sure that we all in here continue to believe and achieve unity. Thank you.
When we started to do this, I'm just coming off Dallas today, so that's why I'm kind of messed up. I'm talking, but we started to do this documentary one way, and during the process, just like how you guys acted, you were saying all the things, people got emotional about it. I mean, it's the story of the black farmer in America is a complicated story. And even though I tried to stick with the research questions, all the farmers just we was trying to talk about water quality. But the African American farmers started talking about racial inequality. I don't care what I try to do, the conversation went to racial inequality. And I think that's a story. And even though I didn't want to, that's just how it happened. And you know what? I'm gonna start trying to do more films, documentaries. This is only a beginning, but I'm gonna try to do more because the story needs to be told. The story of the black farmer in America needs to be told. My great grandfather was a farmer. The story needs to be told. And our story is not told. It's not told. That's all.
So thank you all for participating in this conversation. I hope the conversation continues throughout the day. I know that Mr. Rapley will come around maybe, and Dr. Dawson may want to interview some of you individually and just share some of the comments you've shared here. And some of you that didn't get a chance to speak, we'd still like to hear from you. And like she said, it's a complicated story, but it's one that others need to hear and to make it an educational tool for us. So thank you for your time, your feedback, and your endurance, because what you do requires the marathon approach. It's not just a sprint. You all are in it for the long haul, so thank you so much.